I was asked to do a brief history of the Evans home in case you don't know, and I will make it brief because most of you do. If you haven't been part of that history, you're probably in the minority because Rotary and the Evans home have been intertwined since long before I joined either. This is my 25th year, or 26th, I guess, at the Evans home, and 20th or so in Rotary. So that's saying something, that it goes way beyond me. So, boilerplate. Henry and William Evans were brothers, and they rode into Winchester from out west in the mid 1850s. They had some cash in their saddlebags. Nobody knows where it came from. Lots of suspicions in Winchester around that. But they set up shop and got very involved in real estate here in Winchester. They split up during the Civil War. They had different sentiments during the Civil War and reunited afterwards. There was an Evans Hotel at the north end of what is now the Walking Mall. There was a cigar shop on Piccadilly that belonged, I think, to William. The two brothers had many other real estate holdings, but they also had a three-story Victorian home on North Loudon, where the parking garage is now. It was torn down originally to create the parking lot for Sears, if anybody knows where that might have been. So anyway, Henry had a daughter named Molly. William had a daughter named Lillian, who had a daughter named Lillian. And Molly and her niece, Lily, both agreed that if they died without an heir, the money, whatever money was left in the Henry and William Evans Home Trust, would be used to create an orphanage in Winchester. They both died without an heir, and that trust was set up, but it wasn't enough money to do anything with. And so this is 1930 or so, the last passed away. Flash forward, 1948, a group of do-gooders in Winchester got together and used that as a little over 50% and three other trusts that the bank had, and wrapped them all together and created the Henry and William Evans Home. They founded actually the board of directors, and they founded the home and moved children into the original building October 24 of 1949. So it's been a long time, and they stayed there briefly. They couldn't get the third floor at that point. The trust said the home was supposed to be in that Victorian building. And apparently the first two floors were okay, but that third floor, they could not even pass the health inspection in the 40s. So I can imagine what the condition was. They ultimately, and a few years ago, I found the original minutes from the board of directors. They ultimately were able to sell that property, invade the trust, change the language, sell that property, and build our building, the original part of it here, which was way out of town at that time, and if you don't know where we are, we're right across the street from Mount Hebron Cemetery on Cork. But they built the original building in and moved in 1952, November of 1952. So that original group of do-gooders, that founding group, consisted of Clark Cooper, who was the chair, Garland Quarles was vice chair, Charlotte DeHart was secretary, Lee Miller was the treasurer, and also they had Helen Lee Smith, Leonard Serbaugh, Sarah Clower, and Robert E. Ayler. So those are some names, I think, that if you're here in Winchester now, you see them on schools. I mean, these are people who were well known in the community, and they were able to use their influence to get things rolling. When they moved in 1952, they reorganized and opened up because they now had a health inspection, they could take children from social services as well as children from private placements. And it was no longer just an orphanage, but they expanded the mission for any children in need. And at the time, it was Winchester, Clark, and Frederick counties that they served. Flash forward again, and by the way, they only took white children. That was also written in the trust. And flash forward again to the late 1960s, it was no longer okay to take just white children. In fact, it wasn't legal. So they couldn't take any new children. They tried to invade the trust, change the language, and that didn't work. So it took them 3 times over 8 years before they were able to do that successfully. During that time, they kept the kids they had, but they couldn't take new children. So it actually dwindled to 1 kid. And when they finally reopened, they reorganized, and they actually, for the first time, hired administrative staff that included an executive director and a program director. And they went to 2 house parents instead of just 1 house mother who lived here every full time. And the director lasted about 6 months, decided it was more than he could chew, and the program director became executive director in 1977, and that was Kirby Lloyd, who hired me. So there have only been 2 of us that have been directors of this place. And it really is an amazing opportunity. I can't tell you what it's like to have the privilege of sharing in the lives of literally hundreds of kids. Another change that's happened over the years, when I joined the Evans home, all of our kids came to us from social services, from the welfare agency, and they were kids who didn't thrive in foster homes, or might have been sibling groups that were hard to place together, or they bounced from home to home to home and were unsuccessful because of what we now know might be a reactive attachment disorder or other issues. We gave them an opportunity for success. And the reason it worked here where it might not have worked in someone else's family is that there is no guest here and those who live here. All of the kids need to make it their home. And sometimes we're more successful with that than others. But the point is they're in it together, and the kids learn to help each other. And there's magic in that. And that's another part of the privilege of being here, is watching the kids learn what it's like to nurture each other instead of just, and become part of a family unit. So during the first 15 years I was here, that's pretty much how we operated. 50% of our funding literally came from social services, foster care money. 50% was raised privately. At the height of my budget time, that many years ago, I had a budget of $730,000 a year. We had an independent living coordinator, we had a cook, we had a groundskeeper. We've never had development people, but we had a lot of other staff and support people who were here. And I had 2 case managers. Over time, social services has changed their regulations, both federally and locally, and they're no longer placing kids in group homes. So we had an opportunity, and I'm so proud of our board of directors 10 years ago for making this decision. Many group homes have stopped, gone defunct. When I started the Virginia Association of Children's Homes, which are all nonprofit group homes, numbered 33. Now we're down to 7. But our board decided that we're going to use our capacity, as social services no longer placing kids with us, to become purely a private institution, a private nonprofit that only takes children who need to be fully scholarshiped. And what we do now, it's an interesting and amazing partnership. We take children who can't be cared for safely by parents who are homeless, parents who need to go long-term drug substance abuse treatment, parents who need to live in Watts and can't take their kids with them. And what we do is we offer not just a safe place, but a place where these kids thrive. We have private music lessons. The kids get to participate in extracurricular activities of their choices. They get jobs in the community. They work community service opportunities. And what we're about is trying to open up and allow them to kindle or rekindle dreams that they might have had and help them become successful where they might not have had those opportunities had they not come here. It's kind of like parents placing their kids in a boarding school, except they're much more in contact. We have parents who are in contact every day. We have parents who see and visit their children every week. And that's part of our mission, is to make sure that we co-parent and that we keep the family members involved in every success and every challenge that their children have while they're with us. And they can use that opportunity then to improve their circumstances and reunite with their kids anytime. And so it's a neat concept, and it really is working extremely well. Told you my budget was heavy at one point. Well, in today's dollars, real dollars, it's $500,000 now, and it's just me, an administrative assistant, a program director, and 2 sets of house parents, and they do it all. And everything that the maintenance people used to do or that the cooks used to do are now chores for kids, house parent duties, or volunteer groups come in. And we have so many, we're so blessed in this community with so many people who come in and do everything from spruce up our gardens to help literally build storage capacity for us. And we need a lot of it because so many of our kids move on, but it's like leaving stuff at home. You want to, I mean, there's nowhere else for them to leave their things. So that's kind of it, the history of it. Where we are now, I've got 9 kids. Until a few weeks ago, I had 12, but a family of 3 were reunited, which was just an awesome opportunity. My kids are between 8 and 17. I've got 3 seniors at Hanley this year who are planning to move to the Lloyd House. And if I can give you just one story of how this community works, I received a donation last week of a car. It came from Dwight Phillips and his father, Jack Phillips. Dwight lives in Maryland, but his father, Jack Phillips, passed away. And Jack was chairman of our board in 1980. And Dwight knew of his affiliation or love of the Evans home and asked us, we wanted this car. So all of our work on our vehicles is done by Blaine Jenkins at Autotech. And he said, sure, I'll go look at it with you. And he did. And it's a 2004 Ford Taurus station wagon, but it's only got 60,000 miles on it. And so we have that now, and it will be transportation for my alum. We've got an alumni house that I named after Kirby. It's the Lloyd House. And any former resident in need can stay there, live there, as long as they pay rent, work in the community, and they can go to college. We've got a scholarship at Lord Fairfax that's endowed by Al and Dottie Witt. But now they've got transportation, and it's going to make a big difference. And so these are some of the things we do. Right now, COVID's made things crazy. We had to spend a great deal of time just with the lifelines of Zoom and DoxyMe and all the TheraMed and all of the opportunities for kids to see their therapists that way. And they're actually going to school virtually right now as well. We, having the population we have, had several parents who came up positive and were even hospitalized during this time. So it's been very important for us to remain in quarantine. But we do allow the parents to visit both virtually, and now we're having them come on the weekends and they stay outside. We've got a pavilion and a canopy and they mask and social distance, and it's working out fine. So that's kind of what's going on. Another thing that's happened recently that's kind of fun is that some of the high school groups have gotten together and are offering virtual tutoring. So thank goodness, because I ran out of my ability to help our geometry student 2 weeks ago. Hit the absolute pinnacle of my knowledge. And so my job now is during breaks between classes, kids can come knock on my door and we shoot a game of pool. It's a good job. It's a really, really good job. We've had so many successes. I've got an alum who's a doctor. I've got an alum. Every year we have an event where I bring one of our former residents and they come and tell their story. And it is remarkable. These children are in so many ways my heroes because they're resilient. Beyond, despite the fact that every single kid who walks into our door has survived sustained trauma for a long time, they really are resilient and interested and willing. I mean, we don't fix anybody. All we can do are give them opportunities. And that's what this place is about. None of those opportunities would work without groups like Rotary and including Rotary. As I said, the Rotary relationship has lasted longer than me. I don't even know when the first Christmas dinner was, but I will tell you this. Every year when our alum speaks at our dinner, that whoever they are, and we've had them in their 40s, they talk about Rotary Christmas parties. And it just means the world. I can't thank you enough for literally rocking the hearts of my children and having done that for so many years. I want to introduce our current board of directors. We've got some who are in Rotary right now. Dan Martin is our chair, high commander, and supreme overlord. Paul Frank is vice chair. Ridge White is secretary treasurer. Gene Barch is in the club, and on our board. Jonathan Snowden is on our board as well. And Jonathan does the most remarkable thing. He will bring groups to the Evans home to play privately for our kids and then invite us to concerts at Shenandoah University. It has brought classical and rich and wonderful music into the world of our children, and I can't thank him enough for that, but I can thank everybody for something. And then related by marriage to Rotary are Mary Kofalt and Kathy Naranjas. Also on our board are Jimmy DeBruler, Liz Miner, Sheriff Lenny Milholland, Donna Jenkins, Beverly Shoemaker, and Barb Savage and Ann Wallinger. It's a fabulous group. We couldn't do what we do without them. I've got a book that names everyone who's been in Rotary. And I mean, from Rich Reedy to, you could just go back through and see so many of them that are part of Rotary and that are former board members of the Evans home. Diane Sinclair, I think, was the longest standing board member to date. And so now, although of the current ones, it probably feels like it's the longest to date because of what we've been going through. But overall, it's a happy story. We laugh at the Evans home much more than we cry, but it's very real. Not all of our kids are successful, but every single one of them has the opportunity. And for that, I thank you, because we couldn't do it without you. We're 100% dependent on goodwill of the community service, and it works. So that's my presentation. I will take any questions anyone has happily, but I also want to make sure that any of my board members who might be there have an opportunity to say anything that they'd like to. And I'm not sure who those might be.
Hey, Mark, it's John. I think you could share those pictures if you wanted to at the end, just so they can see the kids.
Yeah, and these are just random shots from throughout the year. You'll actually see some shots from last year's Christmas party at Rotary. But thank you, John. The little guy is our house parents' son. And when he was born, his mom even Skyped with the kids from the delivery room. They've been involved. In fact, we had bets on, and there's a big chart on the wall of when he was going to be actually delivered. His name is Fox, and he's literally growing up here. Our house parents work and live here every other week. We've got 2 couples that are here every other week. These are shots during the summer. So any of the board members want to say anything?
Mark,
Yeah.
I can say something.
Oh, good.
It's a very selfish thing, but we really miss having the whole home round to our house. In the summer, we were stopped first by a massive, I don't know, refurbishment in the house, and then since then there's been COVID. So my worry is the children will forget who we are. So we'll have to show up one day and wave at you through the windows.
There we go. We'll make that happen. But there's not a chance they'll forget you, Jonathan. Thank you.
Hey, Mark,
Yes, Rich.
can you say something about the quilt that's being done that we talked about at a board meeting yesterday?
Oh, sure. This is the second year we've had actually a quilt provided to us that's going to be raffled off through the year. And but this one actually has depictions of local spots in Winchester. The only one that's not still around is the original Evans home, which is also on the quilt. But it's neat. And if anybody's interested, Our website is evanshome.org, and you're welcome to go there and look through anything you like, but the quilt information is there as well.
Do you have a picture of it, Mark?
Might.
Mark, do you have a picture of the quilt?
I might. Let me see if I've got one.
There's a local quilters club. The lady put it all together. I think it's got 12 historic buildings in the Winchester area.
Yeah. Can you see that? Yeah, it's large. It's more of a wall tapestry. You wouldn't want to throw it over something because it really is a work of art. Yeah.
It's got the library, Washington's headquarters.
Bell Grove.
Well, as my mother used to call it, Belly Grove. Bill. Total of 12 old buildings. And I've got some leaflets in my car. I didn't bring it in because I thought somebody else was going to bring it. But I've got some in my car that I can bring to the next meeting and to leave here for everybody to see what we're doing. And we're going to be raffling it off. It's going to be in another year. So we'll have time and we will have tickets available, right, Mark?
Yes. Yeah, they're $10 each and 3 for 25. 3 for 25, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So should I say anything else about it, Mark, or is that pretty much?
Oh, that's fine. No. Thank you.
There's a local quilter from a local quilting club, a lady who's donated a lot of time and has done quilts for us. In fact, came up with this idea and hand did it all herself. It's very amazing looking. It's really nice. So we'll hope everybody will pitch in and take a chance on it. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich. The only last thing I wanted to tell you is that we actually have a recreation room at the Evans home that we built when we had our campaign to extend our halls and have single bedrooms for all of our kids. And we also built the Lloyd House at the same time. Our recreation room, though, was a huge addition. It's beautiful. It's got a pool table and all kinds of opportunities for the kids to play. It's been vital this year, as you can imagine, being stranded in the house. And it is the Winchester Rotary game room. It was actually more than 50% paid for by our club. And that was over 10 years ago, but I just want to do a shout out and a thank you for that.